If 2027 comes out the way the ruling party is designing it to be like, I cry for my country, Nigeria. It's going to be it's going to be a huge mistake. It's going to be a huge setback to our development, to our democracy, to our unity. And at the end of the day, this leadership needs to understand that if this country crumbles, it will be like a carpet being drawn over out of your feet. You will also fall down. You are standing on the table feeling very comfortable. And this table is standing on people's head. These people under the table are crying and mourning and begging and requesting and agitating. But you think you are standing on the table, you are feeling stronger, you are holding, you are hitting the table harder. The day they have one voice, they become stronger, they become more aware, and they pull themselves out of that table will fall. It will fall on some people. You too that is on that table will fall and crash.
Our guest on today's edition is the convener, Motion. I think that's Movement for the Transformation of Nigeria, Comrade Hauwa Mustapha. All right, the National Assembly called the bluff of Nigerians by passing the Electoral Reform Bill with the injurious proviso, and while the president hurriedly signed it into law in less than 24 hours, as if he was laying ambush for Nigerians. How did you feel as a Nigerian, and what went through your mind?
Yeah, another sad moment in the experience of being a Nigerian, another sad moment in our journey through democracy. Another dent, another blow. Sad, but not surprised. Not surprised because with this type of government that we have unfortunately been having for almost since the time of our so-called democracy, and particularly this government since 2023, even the events that led to 2023, 2019, the events around 2019, one is not surprised. One is sad. One is not surprised because the last 10 to in fact, our democracy has been one that has been characterized by desperation. Our democracy is one that has been characterized by executive lawlessness. Our democracy is one that has been characterized by, emperor-like, system of governance, where those that people are expected to have put them in power, where those that are expected to have been in power through the votes of the people, whether correctly or incorrectly, at least you have reading on the perceived, the perception that people voted you into power. And then you get to that power, you get to that seat of power, you begin to behave like an emperor. The people no longer matter. You trample on them, as if they are some footmat for you. So this has been the trend, and things have not really been getting better, particularly after our 2015 election. Things have not really been better. We have seen the body language of leaders before elections, after election. We have seen the consistent way of muzzling, the voices of the people, of opposition. We have seen an intolerance to opposition. We have seen a fierce, body language that shows an aversion, to opposition, to alternative voices. And that is why, for me, I'm not surprised. But I am sad. I am sad because consistently over the years, we keep struggling, we keep hoping, we keep engaging, believing that somewhere, somehow, today will not be like yesterday, and tomorrow will be different from today. In other words, even if we don't get to Uhuru, that somewhere, somehow, we find that we are moving a step further But what we see, what is sad is that we are rather moving one step further and 10 steps backward. The normal cliches, one step forward, two steps backwards. Unfortunately, we move one step forward and we move 10 steps backwards. In the 21st century, where India, countries like India, countries like Rwanda, and even smaller countries, around the world that are not as big and as endowed as Nigeria are blazing the trail in terms of electoral process, in terms of democracy. And it's sad. We're not moving. It's sad.
All right, now that the National Assembly and the executive have both killed what Nigerians perceive to be a means to a transparent election, what is your advice to Nigerians, and what should Nigerians do in the midst of and the face of all of this?
Nigerians it might look like we are resilient, but I think we are really not. It might look like when we get pushed to the wall, we want to break the wall and continue moving, we don't fight back. I'm not sure we are really like that. I think what Nigerians are going to do, and I want to suggest, is be consistent in, fighting for your rights to be, the right of your voices to be heard, and the right of your voices to make an input into the process of lawmaking. I think I would suggest to Nigerians that we continue to gather, we continue to mobilize, we continue to organize, and let the people in government, let the people in the National Assembly understand that it is possible. And we know by law, even if the president has signed it, it can still be recalled. We can still even talk of another law, a fresh law that could also, override whatever it is that the president has signed it. Of course, again, we know that because of the time in election, the election year is coming very close. The calendar will still be open. That there's a limit in terms of timing. But I think for Nigerians, we don't stop. We don't stop taking action. We don't stop making our voices loud and louder. But more importantly, is to look out for 2027. It is to tell Nigerians that, look, no more shall we vote for people or persons, who are associated to a process that is killing our democracy. That it is now for Nigerians to take serious action and begin to say, okay, you have your own say. We can also have our own way. Your say is in your pen and your paper. Our own way is in the action at the polling units, and in defending that action at the polling units, and in uniting and organizing to ensure that that action we take at the polling unit is defended, irrespective of your paper and your pen.
There are those who argue that President Tinubu has strengthened democracy. Some argue that he has weakened Nigeria's democracy, while many critics of this administration say they've gone overboard, including using security agencies and weaponization of judiciary as political weapons. What's your take?
He has weakened governance and the trust between the governed and the people, the governors and the people. So in that context, Nigeria's governance process is so weak, is so flawed. The distrust between the people and the rulers is also so is widened now. However, democracy is not just about what they do in government. It's also about the rights of the citizens to do certain things within the ambit of the law. Within the ambit of the law, citizens have a right to organize themselves, unite themselves, and protest peacefully. And I think citizens, this is the time for us as Nigerians to really, really mobilize, irrespective of our regional location, irrespective of whatever primordial sentiments that we share. But that one thing is common: this Nigeria belongs to us. This Nigeria, if you count the number of persons in the National Assembly total, both the Senate and the House of Representatives, including those in the executive, total, they are not up to 10,000. Plus their family members and their immediate friends, and their appointees, and their electees and their selectees. They are not up to 10,000. They cannot represent Nigeria. The totality of Nigerians, the more than 200 million Nigerians, are bigger than this small section. So what we need to do is organize, is mobilize ourselves at the polling booths, and consistently also continue to make the noise, continue to make our voices louder, and also take the fight beyond the federal to the state level.
There are those who believe that the opposition is almost dead, or at best, did not do enough to galvanize Nigerians to block the sinister plot by the National Assembly. What's your take?
So yes, in many sense, yes. If you look at opposition in the context of political parties, yes. However, if you look at an opposition is supposed, what is the role of opposition? To provide an alternative voice. That's principally the role of an opposition, not to kowtow, the establishment and the rubber stamp everything as a yes, or, it's just to be critical, to be positively critical, to be alert and engage. That's the role of the opposition. So if we don't have the political parties standing or performing the role of opposition, we have the civil society doing the role of opposition. So in that context, I will say that the concept of opposition is not dead in Nigeria.
Even the civil society, how many of you are still active?
Yes, so the civil society is very broad. And my organization, for instance, the Movement for the Transformation of Nigeria, is a civil society organization that has in its membership a wide array of interest bodies cutting across the country.
We will come to that movement.
Yes.
Later.
So the civil society will not be said to be inactive. The civil society might also, as Nigerians, be working in a very challenging terrain, and very challenging times. This is accepted. However, even those challenging times are even the more reasons that are igniting civil society action. And over the days, over the years, even where we are seeing more and more action, we are seeing more and more agitation. And unfortunately, what the government is doing is creating more agitation. It's creating more reasons for people to have more sympathy with an opposition view. So they are even making the work simpler. Yes, if there were challenges in civil society being very strong out there, the activities, the recent development by the government is even helping the civil society more, because it is creating more sympathy, it is creating more awareness, it is raising more questions, and creating more reasons for people to be ready for organizing, for people to be ready for mobilizing. And that's what we are seeing over the years.
Do you think that 2027 election will be genuinely competitive, considering the fact that almost all the governors and the political structures have collapsed into the APC?
So now for 2027, with the way it is, I do not personally see the template for a real competitive election. The handwriting we are seeing is for a carry-go election. It's for a runover, by a single party, which unfortunately is not right for Nigerians. It's not right for our development. However, at the same time, I'm also seeing feelers, I'm seeing signs of other alternative political parties, coming together to engage. And I don't think it is rather a bit early for us to predict exactly how 2027 is going to run. If you remember in how Buhari came to power in 2015, I think within in barely a year of the 2015 election, you saw how, permutations and conflagrations and all kinds of organizing and reorganizing happened in the National Assembly between the parties. Everybody moved away. There was the new PDP and all that, and everybody moved into the APC. In a similar way that what happened, for the PDP to also become strong. So I'm seeing a kind of related pattern. We have the ADC, We have even the Labour Party is also getting back its groove with the recent court decision. We also have other parties, and I believe, I think that there's a lot going on, behind the curtain by these other parties to at least have a template of unity, have a minimum agenda of collaboration. I hope it works out, because if that was going to be strong, we will see it with the outcome or with the way the FCT elections is coming. But I have not seen that collaboration. I still see them going in their splinters and different ways, in their different silos. Maybe perhaps the FCT election, the outcome of the FCT election, will be a filler into what 2027 is going to be. And it will be unfortunate if 2027 comes out the way the ruling party is designing it to be like. I cry for my country, Nigeria. It's going to be it's going to be a huge mistake. It's going to be a huge setback to our development, to our democracy, to our unity. And at the end of the day, this leadership needs to understand that if this country crumbles, it will be like a carpet being drawn over out of your feet. You will also fall down. You are standing on the table feeling very comfortable. And this table is standing on people's head. These people under the table are crying and mourning and begging and requesting and agitating. But you think you are standing on the table, you are feeling stronger, you are hitting the table harder. The day they have one voice, they become stronger, they become more aware, and they pull themselves out of that table will fall. It will fall on some people. You too that is on that table, you will fall and crash. That's what I have to say.
All right, beyond politics, as a patriotic Nigerian, if you look at the data, look at the statistics, wanton destruction of lives and property, left, right, and center, do you think we are safer today than we were 4 years ago? And if the answer is no, such a commander-in-chief, does he deserve to be re-elected? Let's be sincere.
No. Simple answer, no. Like I said earlier, we are farther behind. We are not moving forward. We are worse than where we started even 3 years ago. There's a limit to how you can destroy. You destroy and destroy. Once there's nothing left for you to destroy, destruction begins to eat you back. So I think that I don't have hope, I don't have expectation that whoever even comes to power in 2027 with this rate of destruction, look, a lot has been destroyed in this country, economically, socially, culturally, politically. A lot has been destroyed. There is no Messiah that is going to fix this country in 4 years. There is no Messiah that is going to fix this country in 8 years. But there is a Messiah that can set the right vehicle to fix this country. What we need is the right vehicle. Understand the problem. Because what is feeding insecurity, you have not engaged it. What is feeding insecurity is primarily injustice, social and economic injustice that is prevalent in this country. That people you cannot trust that if eventually you go to school, you send your children to school, that at the end of managing 10 years from primary school to secondary school to the university, 10 to 12 or 15 years, they come out that within a year, within 2 years, within 3 years, they can get job. You know what, my brother? Even NYSC these days. In my time, as soon as you are finishing school, your NYSC posting is there. Now I hear that NYSC posting, even after school, you are waiting at home for 1 year, for 6 months, before NYSC posting comes. It's so, and people are not looking at this. That's the youth that is so affected, that is going every day in hopelessness, is tired. Japa syndrome will come. Now, even where you are japaing to, they are japaing back. Because you go there, there's nothing. If you are not forced away, the circumstances there will force you back. And when they come back, you think they'll just sit down, fold their arms. So insecurity abound, and I think for me that is one fundamental problem that the government doesn't seem to be listening to. And like you said, it is worsening and it is taking different dimensions. Even animals in the jungle, they have some, they exemplify some form of justice within their own kin, within their own type, and they defend their own. But we have people that once they get there, they don't even listen. They don't defend their own. They don't understand how their own is crying. You know? And where it is leading us to, I'm afraid. Some people say that, yeah, well, it is leading us to Nigeria, we crack Nigeria. Nigeria has cracked already. But I don't think it is really going to lead us to a situation where Nigeria really disintegrates in that context. But rather, it is going to lead us to a much more serious civil unrest, civil action, civil unrest, and to a large extent, people will suffer more for that. There's no doubt about it. But I think governance will now be forced at some point to be more realistic, to be more people-oriented, because we are reaching the peak of destruction. What else do they want to destroy?
All right, many have accused the APC government of taking over the legislature, the judiciary, the police, and even the media. As we head into elections next year, what are your fears if Tinubu is re-elected?
You see, I am not a politician, and so I'm not going to sit here and say that blindly that Tinubu's, if Tinubu is re-elected, Tinubu's re-election in 2027 is not going to be adjudged a true election. I won't sit here and say that bluntly, but I will say that if Tinubu's re-election does not go through the process of transparency and accountability that Nigerians are requesting for, I know on the side of the government, they will dance, they will celebrate and say what, they are here again. Their enemies, so-called enemies, will not stop there. Yes, the whalers will not stop there. They are here by the true will of the people. I know that will be their song. And with that, they'll say, because people like what we are doing, that is why they voted us into power. So we are going to do more. You know, if there was no, the remaining, because endlessly, there's a subsidy on fuel, endlessly. The remaining subsidy on fuel, we are going to remove it because you see, because we removed the one last of the previous season, Nigerians who loved us, and truly loved us, liked what we did, and they voted us back to power. Then we are also going to remove more subsidy from electricity, blah, 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 blah. We are going to impose more taxes. There will be more of those economic, strangulation of Nigerians in terms of policies. There will be more of those invite foreigners to come. Now, even their foreign direct investment, who is coming to Nigeria to invest? Whatever it is you have, you cannot come and invest in a situation where there's insecurity. And so I will expect that there's going to be more economic hardship. I will expect that there's going to be more discontent within the civil society, within Nigerians generally. I will bet, however, this is on that side. On the side of the people, I will expect and hopefully that it will make Nigerians to become more organized. Because if what the civil society, the rest of the civil society is doing now to organize Nigerians, because look, the power of the people is greater than the power of a group of individuals. The power of the people is greater. And if Nigerians realize that, look, because the error we made in 2015, the error of 2019, the error of 2023 must not be repeated in 2027. The people must come out to say, it's enough. Enough. And I think that we do this by, look, these people live in every community of ours. We must take protests and our voices, we must make it sound very loud in the various communities where the representatives of government are also residing. Because when we come to the street of Abuja, I say this without fear or favor. When we come to the street of Abuja, good. Streets of Lagos, good. But let's begin to take these protests right to their own communities, right to their own corners, peacefully. Peacefully. Within the ambit of the law, it is our right to protest. But let's begin to take this protest to their doorsteps. Look at what happened in the National Assembly a few days ago. People, ordinary citizens, with no sticks, not to talk about guns or bullets or anything, and you go to tear gas them. So if Nigerians decide that, okay, if the National Assembly belongs to you, our houses belong to us, let's all sit back at home. Yeah, on the urge Nigerians. Let's all sit back at home. What will we eat? If you are afraid of death, when you come to the street, innocently people have been killed. Hunger will kill you. Unemployment will kill you. Hopelessness will kill you. Our hospitals do not have facilities to help you. So sit back at home. Let them be ruling from the Masoro and National Assembly. Let's give it to them. Let us all sit at home. Let us see whether they come and force Nigerians out of their homes.
Comrade, let's look at Nigeria of today. Hunger, insecurity, unemployment. What is the one thing that made you say enough is enough? We must start motion now.
All of it. All of it. All of it about hunger. All of it about unemployment. Because if you are employed, you earn decent wage, you can eat well. All of it about hopelessness, all of it about insecurity, where even if you have a job and you can eat, you are in your home, you are not safe. You're on the street, you are not safe. All of it about poor infrastructure, that you pay so much for electricity and at the end of the day you are in darkness. All of it about roads and infrastructure, that you pay so much tax and yet you have to build your own borehole, that you have to fix the road to go into your house. All of it put together, that Nigeria has become a shadow of itself. And so the idea is that Nigeria belongs to Nigerians, and Nigerians need to come together and work towards a transformation of this country, because where we are now is not where we ought to be. We have enough resources, human and natural, to fight hunger, for people not to be hungry, for the youth to come out of school and have jobs, for those who cannot even go to school to have skills, for us to have training centers, for everybody we have enough for everybody. But in a situation where what we have is being commandeered by less than 5% of the population, when the reality of hunger is that people, even workers, are now doing 010, even workers. So you now have a population of a working poor, that you are working, you are earning income, yet you are poor because you cannot feed adequately, you cannot access basic medical facilities, you cannot take your children to proper schools, you cannot have a decent mode of transportation, you can't have a decent house. We're not asking for luxury, just simple basic things. All of this put together characterizes Nigeria as a country of the poor, with over 65% of its population, over 120 million, close to 150 million of its population in poverty. This is a crisis situation. It is this socio-economic crisis situation that forced some of us in the civil society to say, look, what else do we have after this country? It's Nigeria. Whom does Nigeria belong to? Belong to us, the people. Who is going to rescue us from this path of destruction, from this journey of hopelessness? It is we, the people, not them. When they do it, I will give them this, because we have allowed them to misuse power. So, Movement for the Transformation of Nigeria is an organization, a movement, really not an organization. It's a movement because it is a movement of movements. There are movements, there are people, there are organizations, there are individuals, there are people who subscribe to accepting, acknowledging Nigeria as a people's country, and that everybody who lives here according to the Constitution has a right to live a life of dignity, but that where we are has removed dignity from our personhood. And so the idea is how to organize, reorganize, and mobilize Nigerians to demand for the right to live as citizens with pride, to live as citizens with rights that must be given, that must be accepted. Because look, as we are today, food has been taken away from our table. Jobs have been taken away from our children. We don't have roads, we don't have electricity, we don't have water. If we continue this way, a time will come where perhaps the air we are breathing will be specially taxed. They will tell us that yes, it is this Nigerian country, we have to pay specially because we are breathing air. We had a time, once upon a time, where even the gap between the wealthy and the rich was almost, non-existent, because all the children of the rich and the poor will attend the same primary school, will attend the same secondary school, and much more so university. Today we have divided this country. The division of this country, the most, worrying in terms of the division in this country is the class division.
All right, for someone who is maybe watching you for the very first time on this show, how would you describe motion for the person? Is it a protest group, a political group, a pressure group, or a full transformation movement?
It's not a political group. It's a movement that is out for transformation, for ensuring that the resources that Nigeria has is put into good use for Nigerians. It is a pressure group in the sense that in carrying out that action, you put pressure through campaigns and advocacy. It is not a party. It is not an organization. It is a movement that believes in organizing and using its number using its number and its voice to put pressure on the governance system, to do advocacy and to do campaign around how Nigeria should go and how Nigeria should not go, so that everybody, we can transform this country to be one that is for Nigeria. So when we talk about transformation of Nigeria, it is that we are interested in transforming the electoral process, for instance. And that's why we're all out around the electoral process, because we believe that the way through which leadership emerges is very important. If a leadership emerges through the will of the people, and there is a trust between the government and the governed, then you can have certain expectations that things will work, at least in the way that the people want it to work. We also believe in accountability and transparency. And so we are also interested in ensuring that the judiciary, for instance, putting pressure and campaigning to ensure that the judiciary understands its role as its role in terms of arbitration, its role in terms of also becoming, the mark of justice, ensuring and affirming justice to the people.